My husband used his idealized ex to demean and manipulate me. When I asked for a divorce, he was stunned. That day, a moment of carelessness caused the hair dryer to get wet, and my usually gentle husband had a huge fight with me over it. Emily would never do something like this. She's gentle and thoughtful, and she even helps me with my work. Why did I ever marry you? I froze. The Emily my husband mentioned was his ex-girlfriend of 7 years, the one who got away because things just didn't work out as for work. He seemed to have forgotten that it was he himself who made me quit my job to become a stay-at-home wife. Later, I suggested getting a divorce to let them be together. But David panicked. Those were just words said in the heat of the moment. I'm not. There was a loud bang from the living room. I put down my son, who I had just rocked to sleep, and walked out of the bedroom to see David standing there, his face dark, staring intently at me. Just as I was about to ask what was wrong, a faint smell of burning filled the air. Sarah, were you trying to electrocute me? The hairdryer got wet. Why didn't you say anything? What if someone got electrocuted? I was taken aback. What? I didn't know. Are you okay? David shoved away my outstretched hand. You didn't know, or you were just careless. The hairdryer has always been hanging on the wall. Unless you did something, how would it get wet just sitting there? I pressed my lips together, unsure where to begin, because I genuinely had no recollection, and it was impossible for me to know how the hairdryer got wet. But before I could remember anything, I saw David pinching his temples, looking regretful, and saying, Emily would never do something like this. She's gentle and thoughtful, and she even helps me with my work. Why did I ever marry you? I was completely stunned in place. The Emily David mentioned was his ex-girlfriend of 7 years, the one who got away because things just didn't work out. As for what he said about work, had he forgotten that it was his decision for me to quit my job and become a stay-at-home wife? Let's both cool off for a while. With that, David picked up his jacket from beside him and walked straight past me, heading out without looking back. I clenched my hands, but still didn't speak, because I knew I couldn't keep him, just like you can never wake someone who is pretending to be asleep. I met David at a business reception. That day, my boss assigned me to entertain a client. The client held his liquor well. Though I wasn't bad myself, I was a woman, and no matter how good my tolerance, I didn't have the capacity he did. I was quickly outmatched, however. The client didn't seem inclined to let me off the hook, but I simply couldn't drink anymore. When I was at an impasse, David stepped in front of me. Mr. Baker? Long time no see. Long time no see. Later, the deal was closed, and because of it, I received a substantial bonus. During the meeting, my boss kept praising how capable and skilled I was. But I knew that it was all David's doing, not mine. To thank David, I asked a friend for his contact information, but because I never found the right time, I couldn't manage to ask him out for dinner. It wasn't until a friend organized a gathering that I finally had the chance to thank him in person. I remembered David smiled and shook his head, saying it was just a small favor, but his smile carried an almost imperceptible distance. I learned from my friend that David had previously dated a very possessive girlfriend who didn't like him interacting with other women, so David always kept his distance from everyone except her. Hearing this, I felt a pang of envy. My friend, however, sighed. Isn't that the truth? But they still broke up for various reasons. I heard they dated for 7 years. They were each other's first love. I woke up from a dream to find my pillow was wet, and the spot beside me was still empty. David really wasn't coming back. Even though I had prepared myself, there was still an indescribable ache in my heart. In the 3 years we'd been married, David had never treated me like this. We rarely had disagreements or arguments. When did things start to change? It seemed to be last month, when Emily returned to Riverwood to develop her career. David had been acting differently since then. I heard they broke up because of the long distance. Now that Emily was back, did David regret being with me? Is that why he lost his temper so badly tonight? I had found out the reason the hairdryer got wet. Leo had accidentally knocked over his glass while drinking water, and the water splashed onto the hairdryer hanging on the wall. It was an unforeseeable accident. David could have talked to me calmly, but instead, he brought up Emily and compared me to her. How could he compare us? The circumstances and our positions were completely different. I turned over, closing my eyes tightly, forcing myself not to think, but the tears still fell. Against my will, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I was feeding Leo when I received a call from David's good friend, Sarah. You're not here yet? I paused, not immediately understanding what he meant, when he added, David's had too much to drink and he's acting drunk right now. Sarah, hurry and come pick him up and take him home. Drinking? Acting drunk? So that's where he went, drinking, but looking at Leo, who was sleeping soundly in my arms. I hesitated. Mike, Leo just fell asleep. It's not convenient to bring him. Could you please give David a ride back? I can't, Sarah. I'm really stuck here, otherwise I'd definitely take David back myself. Looking at the address Mike sent me, I hesitated for half a minute before getting up and leaving the house. At this hour, everyone was definitely asleep. Otherwise, I could have left Leo with a neighbor for a bit. Fortunately, Leo was a deep sleeper, so he could sleep in the car. About 10 minutes later, I drove to the address Mike had sent, but just as I was about to unbuckle my seatbelt and get out, I saw Emily helping a drunken David into a BMW sedan. Time seemed to stand still, and in that moment, I understood what Mike had said earlier. David was drunk, and he called Emily to come pick him up. But Mike mistook her for me. That's why he said, "You're not here yet." I curved my lips into a self-mocking smile, my hands tightly gripping the steering wheel. Perhaps from the beginning, David had only been with me to appease his parents. In his heart, he had never truly let go of Emily. I decided to get a divorce in just one night. The next morning, I immediately composed a message and sent it to David. "When are you coming back? I have something to tell you." David didn't reply. The message was like a stone sinking into the ocean. I thought he hadn't seen it until a friend sent me a screenshot. I opened it and saw a social media post from Emily. The first thing I saw was a group photo. There were many people in the photo, but only David was standing beside her. The caption was quite telling. "My wish this year is simple, to be back together with the person I like." I stared blankly at David in the photo. In the picture, David appeared to be looking at the camera, but his gaze was subtly directed at Emily. That gentle, longing look, it was something I had never seen on David's face in all these years. My eyes suddenly felt sore. I closed my eyes, feeling a sharp pain. My friend sent 3 messages in a row before pulling my thoughts back. "Did you see it? I told you long ago that David's intentions with you weren't pure, but you didn't believe me. Now look, Emily's back, and you're the only one who will get hurt in the end." When I was with David, my friend had warned me, it's usually hard for someone who dated for 7 years, was their first love, and didn't have fundamental issues, to truly move on. If one person wants to reconcile, the chances of them getting back together are higher than for ordinary couples. It wasn't that I didn't understand this logic, and I wasn't unaware that David was with me because his parents were pressuring him to get married, but I always thought time could change everything. Forgetting that time isn't a cure-all. However, if I could go back in time, I would still make the same choice. I don't regret agreeing to be with David, but I don't want to continue either. This 3-year marriage, it's time for it to end. But I underestimated David's ability to ignore me. No matter how many calls I made or messages I sent, David acted as if he couldn't see or hear them. Did he think that would stop me? That afternoon, I took Leo directly to his grandpa and grandma's place. David's parents thought David and I wanted some alone time and smiled, saying they'd take care of Leo for a few days. I left without saying anything else. After moving out of our house, I rented a place nearby and started applying for jobs on a certain app. Leo was still young now, and I had custody, but after he turned 3, that might not be the case. If David fought for custody and I didn't have a job, I might not be able to keep Leo. I had to find a job as soon as possible. Only with an income would I have a chance to fight for custody. 3 days later, I finally received a call from David. "Where are you?" I scoffed. "Where are you?" There was silence on the other end. After a while, he said, "Why did you suddenly send Leo to my parents' place? Don't you know Leo isn't ready to be away from you yet? My parents haven't been sleeping well because of Leo these past few days. I've brought him back, no matter where you are right now. Hurry up and come back. I have to go on a business trip this afternoon." Hearing this, I tightened my grip on the phone, bit by bit. "I'm afraid I can't. I have a job interview this afternoon." Before David could say anything, I hung up the phone, but the next second, he called again. I didn't answer. He was furious. "Sending 10 messages in a row, Sarah. What are you doing? Hasn't these past few days been enough time for you to cool down? I'm not even mad anymore. What else are you unhappy about? Do you want me to apologize? Between you and me, whose fault is it anyway? Do you really need me to get electrocuted for you to be satisfied? Sarah, you really can't compare to Emily." Seeing this, I clenched my hands tightly, trying to calm the heart that felt like it was being ripped apart, but I still felt a suffocating pain. Could I really not compare? What did all my years of effort mean in David's eyes? I couldn't help but ask myself. perhaps no matter how well I did, I would never measure up to his ex, the one who got away. Taking a deep breath, I replied, I'm coming back now, coming back to let them be together, to let them fulfill their regrets. When I got home, Leo waved his arms, wanting me to hold him. I knew he wanted to nurse, but I was unmoved, just watching David with a blank expression. Just as I was about to speak, he interrupted me. Sarah, there's a limit to how far you can push things. Leo is your son. I remained indifferent, my expression unchanged, as if I hadn't heard anything. Seeing this, David furrowed his brow, displeased. What exactly do you want? The word divorce wasn't out yet when David's phone rang, interrupting me with a beep. Emily's awkward voice came through the phone. David, I know I shouldn't bother you, but the pipe in my house is broken, and it's late. I'm worried I won't find a plumber. Could you come take a look? Time seemed to stand still for a few seconds. Then I heard David comforting Emily on the phone while picking up his jacket from the living room sofa. Holding Leo, after hanging up, he walked towards me. He handed Leo to me, looking impatient to leave. Holding Leo, I grabbed the edge of David's jacket just as he was about to walk away. I have something to tell you. David paused, but didn't turn back. He dropped a line, whatever it is, we can talk when I get back, and walked out without looking back. Would David come back? I didn't know. Late at night, I had another nightmare. I dreamed of the night my friend organized a gathering, where we set up tents and had a barbecue in the wilderness. Everyone was having a great time. Only I, after returning to my tent, was scared out of my wits by a black snake curled up in the corner by the entrance. I had been terrified of these kinds of soft creatures since I was a child. Besides, some snakes are venomous, but because it was a friend's gathering, aside from David, I didn't know anyone else there, and I didn't have their contact information. After not getting a reply from my friend, I, in a panic, chose to send a plea for help to David. Fortunately, David replied quickly. He first calmed me down, then sent messages asking for the snake's location. Soon after, he arrived outside my tent. Watching him flash his phone, I saw the message he had sent me. He told me not to be afraid, to stay put and be good. He would handle the rest. No one knew how much of a relief it was to see that message and David's figure, but my only response to David was a frightened nod. I didn't dare make a sound, afraid of startling the snake and causing irreversible consequences. Luckily, in the end, David caught the black snake, and I was safe. I remembered David saying to me then, if there's anything else you can't handle, you can always call me, don't be shy. How could a person not fall for a David like that? And he had saved me from difficult situations several times. Falling in love with him felt like the most natural thing. In these past few years, David had always been good to me, but ever since Emily came back, he changed. This also indirectly showed that David had never truly let go of Emily. That's why he was behaving this way. I woke up from the dream to find a blanket covering me as I leaned on the sofa. The sound of running water came from the bathroom. David was back. After I don't know how long, the bathroom door opened from the inside. David came out wearing only a towel around his waist. His wet hair dripped down his jawline, onto his abs, and disappeared. David was good looking, had a great body, and was good in bed. Maybe I could have managed if I only wanted a boyfriend. But I wanted a husband who loved me and was responsible. Not a husband who was thinking about his ex and had an unclear relationship with her. Having figured this out, I immediately took the divorce papers, which I had signed earlier, from my bag and handed them to him. David paused slightly when he saw the agreement. I said, David, let's get a divorce? His eyes went from surprise to disbelief as he looked at me. What did you say? Thinking he hadn't heard, I repeated it word for word. He furrowed his brow and asked in astonishment, Are you crazy? Do you know what you're saying? I couldn't be clearer. David was visibly stunned again, looking at my determination and gaze. A flicker of panic actually crossed his eyes. I curved my lips into a slight smile. Whether you believe it or not, I've already signed the divorce papers. Now it's just up to you to sign. And then make an appointment to go to City Hall to get the certificate. Hearing this, David laughed too, but his laugh was tinged with a mix of sorrow and disbelief. He said, Sarah, stop joking. He also said, there's no need to say things like divorce just to provoke me. I don't fall for that. Watching David walk past me, intending to grab the hair dryer hanging on the wall, I suddenly remembered the night he argued with me. It was just a small thing, but he made me out to be someone who deliberately caused trouble and couldn't compare to Emily. Even a week later, every time I thought about it, my heart still ached. I couldn't let it go. and I knew I couldn't pretend nothing happened and continue to be with David. I'm not joking. I'm willing to let you fulfill your regrets. And please, let me go too. David stopped. He turned around, frowning tightly, and asked, "Is this why you want a divorce?" I didn't speak, implicitly confirming it. "There's nothing going on between me and Emily. We're over. Do you even believe that yourself?" I interrupted David, staring at him as I said the next sentence, but he didn't say a word. Not refuting meant admitting. I gave a self-deprecating laugh and didn't want to say anything more. I went back into the bedroom, picked up my sleeping son, and came out. David was still standing there, frozen. He looked at me. "Sarah, there's nothing more to say. I've left the divorce papers on the coffee table. Call me when you've signed them." With that, I held Leo and took some of his belongings and left. While David was out, I had someone come to pack my and Leo's bags. Actually, if David had paid a little attention, he would have noticed that the room was already much emptier, and he wouldn't have thought I was suggesting divorce just to provoke him. Unfortunately, he wouldn't notice these things. His eyes were only on Emily, and he only cared about Emily, and to him, I was just a dispensable wife who couldn't compare to Emily. Who is he? I didn't expect David to chase after me. Not when I was about to get into the car to leave. I glanced at the person driving and said, "It's none of your business." Then I got ready to get in the car with Leo. But David's cold laugh came from behind me. "Sarah, I see you pretending to let me and Emily be together is fake, and wanting to be with him is real, isn't it? No wonder you've been so careless and distracted lately. Turns out you've been cheating all along." Rob was about to say something, but I quickly cut in. "Think whatever you want," with a bang of the car door. The car sped away in front of David in the car. Rob grinned for a long time. Then he couldn't help but burst into laughter. "Sarah, I haven't seen you in just a few years, and your taste in men has gotten worse." Ha ha ha. My face was dark, but my back teeth were almost ground to dust. It was the first time I had let that guy make fun of me. Rob and I were childhood friends who grew up together. 5 years ago, his family moved abroad, so David naturally didn't know who Rob was, but Rob knew I was married. Although he sent a cash gift of $250 on my wedding day, he sent $5.8 for Leo's 1-month celebration. Only then did I reluctantly forgive his childish behavior at my wedding. Last month, Rob returned to the country. He even said he wouldn't leave again and would stay to develop his career domestically. Seeing that I wasn't talking, he stopped laughing. "All right, I won't laugh at you anymore. But your husband's eyesight really isn't great. I'm so handsome, would I ever be interested in you?" "He won't be my husband for long." Rob paused, then quickly reacted. "You're getting a divorce?" "Yes," I said, looking at Leo in my arms. Rob didn't tease me anymore. He just said that if I needed anything, I should tell him directly and not be shy when it came to things like this. Rob was like an older brother to me, responsible and worried about me getting hurt. I nodded at him. "Afraid he would worry about me," I added. "Don't worry. I'm definitely going to use you as my free lawyer. I'm not stupid." Rob finally smiled, but he never asked me the reason for the divorce. He was still the same as before, respecting all my decisions. It felt good. My parents were far away, and my friends had their own careers. Rob was like my anchor, someone I could briefly rely on in the city. David actually tracked me to the rental apartment. I thought it was Rob, but when I opened the door, I saw David's gloomy face. Before I could react, he pinned me against the wall and closed the door behind him. With the disparity in strength between men and women, I couldn't break free at all. It was then that David's questioning voice came from above my head. "When did you change your mind about us? Get out." I pushed and shoved David. However, no matter how hard I tried, his body didn't move. Perhaps my evasiveness angered David, for he grabbed my jaw and spoke, every word chillingly cold. "I'm asking you, when did you change your mind?" Or, he suddenly choked up. I looked at him, saying nothing. I just wanted him to misunderstand so that he would divorce me faster, which was my goal. But David wouldn't give me what I wanted. Speak. Seeing that I still wouldn't answer, he must have gone mad or been possessed, because he pressed his lips against mine, trying to kiss me. My hands were pinned tightly, and I wanted to resist but couldn't move. Just then, a strong hand pulled David away from me. Then I saw Rob punch him in the face. David lost his balance and hit a cabinet nearby. Leo, startled by the noise, started crying in the bedroom. "Go check on the baby. Leave this to me," Rob said. "Okay." I turned to leave, but David called out to me, "Sarah, if you dare listen to him, I'll divorce you. It took me a moment to process that. I gave a cold laugh and said to him, that's exactly what I want. Besides, if Leo didn't see me, he might fall off the bed at such a dangerous moment. David was still focused on arguing with Rob. He really was crazy. Later, I was in the bedroom comforting Leo. They were fighting outside the door. After some time, the sounds from outside stopped, replaced by a text message notification on my phone. Rob said he had handled it, but was worried David might come back, and asked if I wanted to move to his place. I refused. It didn't matter if David misunderstood me, but I couldn't let others misunderstand Rob. Rob wasn't married yet. If rumors spread, it would damage his reputation. Plus, David and I weren't divorced yet. It wouldn't be right, morally or reasonably, for me to go to a single man's house, a man full of vigor, even though Rob and I had known each other since we were kids. But Rob was right. David knew my current address and could come back acting crazy at any time. I no longer wanted any physical contact with him. I felt disgusted. After contacting a friend, I took Leo and moved to her place that night. But while I was venting my emotions to my friend, I heard news that wasn't very good for me. David was injured. It happened on my way to my friend's place. I asked my friend how she knew, and she said she saw Emily's social media post about David being in the hospital. I froze. My first thought was that Rob had beaten David too badly. I was worried about David, but also afraid Rob would get into trouble because of me. I asked my friend to quickly show me Emily's social media post, thinking if it was just a minor injury, I wouldn't bother, and at most I'd apologize for Rob. But my friend stammered and hid her phone behind her back. Sarah, you really shouldn't look. Hearing this, I frowned. Although my friend knew Emily, she had always been on my side because I had helped her with work before. Why was she acting so strangely today? Perhaps seeing my troubled mood, she sighed and handed me the phone. The first thing I saw was a photo of David lying on a stretcher, eyes closed, covered in blood. Seeing this, my head felt numb and swollen, but before I could recover, I saw the caption Emily had written, "You idiot. Every time there's danger, you always protect me. You did during the mudslide, and you did during this car accident. Don't you care about your life? Wake up properly." A sudden, unexpected pain pierced through me, as if my chest had been hit hard by a heavy object. My friend quickly steadied me. She sighed again. "I told you not to look, but you wouldn't listen." I didn't know David would go to such lengths for Emily. A car accident wasn't just a simple traffic incident. Judging by David's injuries, he had protected Emily with a willingness to die. He hadn't thought about me at all, nor about his son, who was still in his crib. Originally, I had thought that after the divorce, I would let David see Leo every weekend. After all, the child was innocent, but now it seemed unnecessary. David didn't deserve to be Leo's father at all. What right did he have to see him? The next noon, my friend told me that David's injuries weren't serious. He had only been scratched on the forehead by glass shards, which made it look life-threatening. They had already been discharged that morning. I was curious how my friend knew. My friend said her sister-in-law was a nurse at the hospital David was in, and she asked her last night because she was worried I might be concerned about David. Worried? No, I'm already planning to divorce him. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I received a complaint from property management. At first, I was a bit confused. I had heard of tenants complaining about property management, but it was the first time I had ever heard of property management complaining about a tenant. It was truly absurd. It wasn't until I heard the property manager say that someone had been knocking on my door continuously, very loudly, disturbing the neighbors who were all complaining to them. I immediately thought of David. I said to the property manager, "I'm not home. Can't you make him leave? We've tried several times. This guy manages to sneak in every time. What can we do? Ms. Gu, if you don't handle this, we'll have to call the police." What good would calling the police do? According to the property manager, even if David was arrested, he would be released in a few days and would sneak back into the neighborhood again. It seemed he absolutely had to see me. Leo was still asleep. After telling my friend what to do, I drove to the rental apartment complex. When he saw me, David first froze, then stumbled towards me and ran over. I didn't expect him to hug me, so I stood still and let him hold me. I struggled a bit, but found he held me even tighter. "Let go." "No." He buried his face in my neck. His warm breath made me tremble all over. I tried to push him away, but David grabbed my hands, pinning me so I couldn't move. "Will you come home with me?" I was wrong before. I shouldn't have yelled at you. I was overwhelmed by emotion then. I didn't mean it. I was just jealous of your relationship with Rob, jealous that you didn't tell me about him. David said a lot essentially. He meant that he yelled at me because he was jealous of Rob. Did he think I would believe him if he said that? He clearly still loved Emily, and he had never loved me at all. I just didn't understand why he had to pretend to be so deeply in love with me. It was sickening. Didn't he realize that? Before I arrived, I received an unknown text message, but based on the content, I roughly knew who it was from. It was from Emily, David's ex-girlfriend, the one who got away, whom he dated for 7 years and couldn't forget even after being separated for 3. She told me that on January 25th last year, she started a relationship in the South. David, to retaliate against her, chose to confess to me at the same time. She also said she hoped I could let her and David be together, that David still loved her and had never loved me from the beginning to the end. When I saw that message, I felt completely numb. I pulled over to the side of the road and tried to calm down for a long time. But I couldn't suppress the overwhelming emotions. I had known for a long time that David didn't love me, but knowing the real reason still hurt intensely. I also didn't expect the truth to be like this. But now, David was saying he was jealous of my relationship with Rob. Did he even know what jealousy was? I couldn't help but ask, David, did you ever love me? Or to put it another way, did you ever like me? The person in my arms suddenly stiffened, but then he hugged me even tighter again. David was about to say something, but I interrupted him. You don't like me, and you don't love me otherwise. You wouldn't have failed to see everything I did for this family. I just don't understand. You were the one who asked me to quit my job and become a stay-at-home wife in the first place. Why could you blame me for it in the end? David suddenly let go of me. Even at this moment, he wasn't willing to bend down and look at me at eye level, but stood towering over me and said, Sarah, I know nothing I say now can make up for the hurt I've caused you. But please believe that I truly love you. I just realized it too late. But David, I lowered my eyes, forced back the tears, and then looked up again. Love isn't about comparison, it's about cherishing. You didn't see the good I did for you, which means you never truly kept me in your heart, and your heart never truly let go of Emily. No. David shook his head. Those were just angry words, not what I meant. I don't love him not. He paused. David, I really want to divorce you. As soon as the words fell, David's eyes suddenly turned red. He grabbed my hand and shook his head, looking lost, as if saying no. I pulled my hand back. He then fell to his knees with a thud, begging me to forgive him, begging me to give him another chance for the sake of Leo being so young, for the sake of Leo not growing up without a father. He even resorted to threatening me with Leo's custody in the end. I looked at the man kneeling on the ground, a hint of amusement in my eyes. Then I told him cruelly, if Leo could tie me down, I wouldn't have asked for a divorce. End of main text. My name is David. It sounds a bit like a girl's name. My mom named me. It didn't have much significance, but because of this name, I met Emily, who studied music. In college, Emily was like her name, beautiful like a blooming rose. She was very pretty, and I fell in love with her at first sight. Later, after much effort on my part, I successfully won her over. I loved her very much. I wanted to be with her for the rest of my life, but reality is often cruel. I couldn't give up my current job, and Emily couldn't give up her dream of becoming a singer. She wanted to pursue her dream, but I wasn't young anymore. My parents back in my hometown kept pressuring me to get married and have children early. Emily wanted to be a singer, and in the end, she and I ended our 7-year relationship. After breaking up, I was in a lot of pain for a while. I felt like I would never love anyone but Emily, until I met my current wife Sarah. That day, I was invited to a reception hosted by a friend. There, I met Sarah, who had been assigned by her boss to entertain a client. I'm not someone who usually meddles, but seeing her clearly unable to drink anymore but still trying to be strong, I felt somewhat sorry for her. It happened that I knew her client, so I took the opportunity to step in and take over the rest of the drinking for her. It truly was just a small favor, because I coincidentally had important business to discuss with the client anyway. It was just happening a bit earlier. But I didn't expect Sarah to want to thank me so much, asking a friend for my contact information, saying she wanted to treat me to dinner, and even sending me a cash gift. I refused all of it, partly because I was genuinely busy, and partly because it really was just a small favor. Later, a friend organized a picnic and asked if I wanted to go. I happened to have the day off, so I agreed. I just didn't expect Sarah to be there as well. I took it as fate. It was quite a coincidence, after all. Her friend happened to be my friend too. That night, the bonfire flickered, a gentle breeze blew. But I only saw Sarah's bright, smiling face. Sarah wasn't stunningly beautiful, but she had a certain charm about her. She was inexplicably attractive, including the friends sitting next to her. They were all drawn to her, knowing that Sarah and I knew each other. They all came over to ask for her contact information. I didn't give it to them. Maybe I was afraid Sarah wouldn't want me to. But whether Sarah was willing or not should have been up to her, not me. Honestly, at the time, I didn't quite understand why I acted that way. Later, I realized I was afraid they would win Sarah over. That's why I had that thought and refused them. After the barbecue ended, I was lying in the tent, getting ready to sleep, when I received a message from Sarah. She said there was a snake in her tent and asked if I could help her get rid of it. No one knew how panicked and afraid I was when I saw that message. It had been a long time since I felt that way. Ever since I broke up with Emily. But I initially attributed it only to concern for a friend. I would have done the same for anyone else. During that Lunar New Year period, I really didn't want to go back to my hometown. I was afraid of my parents nagging, and also afraid they would pressure me to get married. But after all, I was the only child in the family, so I had to go home. When I got home, it was just as I expected. Every time we ate, my parents would pressure me about marriage, sometimes even calling on my aunts and uncles to help persuade me. They even took matters into their own hands, bringing potential dates directly to the house. I didn't want to be with someone I didn't know at all. I still couldn't let go of Emily either. But as the saying goes, one hand can't clap, and eventually, I agreed to my parents' request. But the person had to be someone I found myself. It was then that Sarah came to mind. A friend had told me that Sarah liked me, but I just smiled and didn't take it seriously at the time. She pleaded with me. If you don't like Sarah, if she confesses to you, you must clearly reject her. Don't give her hope, otherwise she'll hang on forever. For some reason, I didn't promise her. Later, I couldn't stand my parents nagging anymore and confessed to Sarah. I asked her quite directly at the time, "Will you marry me?" On the phone, she seemed surprised for a moment, but thankfully, she quickly replied. She said she would. When we met, I was honest with Sarah that I wanted to get married because my parents were pressuring me, but afraid she would refuse. I added, "Don't worry. I'll try to fall in love with you slowly. Until then, I won't touch you." Sarah believed me. Later, we got married quickly. In the second year of our marriage, I heard from another friend that Emily, who was far away, was in a relationship. That night, I made love to Sarah. I told her I had fallen in love with her, which was why I couldn't control myself. I had always thought I slept with Sarah to retaliate against Emily for being in a relationship. It wasn't until I realized I had fallen in love with Sarah that I understood why I lost control that night. Sarah got pregnant and gave birth to a son. Around the time Leo had his 1-month celebration, I received a message from Emily. "David, I'm not going to be a singer anymore." The next day, she joined the company I worked for and became my assistant. There was no surge of unexpected joy. Instead, I was even anxious and uneasy, afraid Sarah would find out and get angry. Later, I was honest with Sarah. She was generous and hugged me, saying, "You don't love her anymore. You don't need to feel sorry for me." Did I not love Emily anymore? I couldn't answer that, but at work, Emily and I still had the same unspoken understanding as before. Few assistants understood what I was thinking and what I needed. With Emily there, my work was indeed much easier. But suddenly one day, I heard news again that disturbed me greatly. It was that Sarah's childhood friend, Rob, had returned to the country. This wasn't the first time I had heard of Rob. Another time, it was the night I had sex with Sarah. Someone told me that Sarah had a childhood friend she grew up with. I heard that their parents intended for them to be together and they liked each other. But they only separated because Rob had to go abroad. Sarah had such a close person but never mentioned him to me. Yet I told her everything, holding nothing back. How could I not be angry about this? The hairdryer getting wet became the final straw that broke me. I used it to have a huge argument with Sarah. I even said some hurtful things to Sarah. I was truly angry at the time, but once the words were out, how could I take them back? The final result was me slamming the door and leaving. But after I calmed down, I regretted it. However, looking at my phone, I hadn't received a single call from Sarah. Seeing this, emotion controlled my mind. I called some guys to go drinking. That night, Emily was there too. She was called over by a mutual friend. I couldn't refuse. Besides, we had been together for so many years. It's not like there was absolutely no feeling left. Not to mention she was my assistant. But the next day, I actually woke up in Emily's bedroom. Emily said we didn't do anything, that she slept on the sofa. I believed her. After all, someone who is drunk can't do anything. But then she also said, Mike called Sarah, and she didn't come, so I took it upon myself to bring you back. Leo was sent to my parents' place by Sarah. I didn't know what she was thinking. I was the one who should have been angry. It wasn't until later that she suggested getting a divorce. But I didn't believe it. I could feel that Sarah liked me, but she had indeed signed the divorce papers, and I started to panic. Could it be that she was doing it for her childhood friend Rob? Sure enough, when I chased after her, I saw her getting into a man's car. I hadn't met Rob before, but I could tell from their eyes that they knew each other and were very familiar. I questioned Sarah, and she didn't deny it. An indescribable emotion filled my mind. Without thinking too much, I quickly drove and secretly followed behind them. It wasn't until Rob left that I dared to knock on Sarah's door. When I saw Sarah, the first thing I said was that same question. When did you change your mind about us? But what I was thinking was, have you never loved me at all? I didn't dare ask, afraid of hearing that answer, and afraid I couldn't accept it. It was also at this moment that I realized I had fallen in love with Sarah. That's why we had that argument, and I was actually just jealous of Rob, that was all. But when I went to be honest with Sarah, Emily stopped me halfway. She said she was being followed, implying if I could give her a ride. I hesitated for a moment, then agreed, but we had a car accident on the way. The car flipped, causing me to be pinned down on Emily. Later I found out that Emily had posted a lot of misleading information on social media, including her birthday. I actually didn't remember her birthday anymore, but I was in a bad mood that night, and when my friend called me over, I didn't want to leave, so I had to stay. As for the photo, it was completely fabricated. I was just zoning out at the time, thinking if Sarah really still liked Rob, thinking why Sarah didn't come to pick me up, thinking why Sarah hadn't told me about Rob, thinking why I was so restless. But by the time I truly understood, it was all too late. Sarah refused to forgive me. She was determined to get a divorce, even if it meant not having Leo. Even when I begged her like a dog, she was unmoved. That's when I knew she really didn't want to continue with me. But why would she do this to me? I just realized my love for her too late.